Ever find yourself scrolling through a website, and then, bam, a photo stops you in your tracks?
Oh, totally. Like that one image that just grabs you and makes you want to learn more.
Exactly. It's like the visual equivalent of a siren song for your eyeballs. And today, we're diving deep into how to choose those perfect images for your own website.
I am so ready for this. Images can make or break a website for sure.
Couldn't agree more. And to guide us on this visual journey, we're taking cues from a blog post by Now Technology Systems.
Now, technology systems, they're based in Australia, right?
They are. They're a web design company down under, and their blog post, Choosing the Best Images for Your Website, a complete guide, is packed with insights. And don't worry, even though they focus on Australian businesses, the principles they lay out are universal.
Awesome. Good design is definitely a universal language.
100%. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of choosing specific images, let's talk about why this even matters. The blog post kicks off by highlighting how crucial image choice is, and I've got to say, their points really resonated with me.
I'm all ears. Lay it on me.
Okay, so their first big point is about grabbing attention. They emphasize how, in our fast-paced digital world, you have literally seconds to make a first impression.
Oh, tell me about it. People's attention spans are, like, shorter than ever these days.
Exactly. And a strong visual can be that initial spark that makes someone hit the brakes on their scroll and think, okay, wait a minute, this is something I need to check out.
It's true. We're such visual creatures, even if we don't always realize it.
Totally. But it's not just about being flashy or eye-catching. It's about telling your brand's story, which is their next big point.
Oh, that's so important. I feel like a lot of people overlook the storytelling aspect of images.
Right. But images have this incredible ability to communicate your brand's personality without relying on a single word.
It's like setting the stage for a great story, right? You're creating a mood, evoking a feeling.
Yes. And speaking of feelings, the blog post talks about how powerful images are for boosting engagement, which is something I think we all want, right?
Engagement is key. It's one thing to get people to land on your website, but it's another to keep them there.
1,000,000%.
Right.
And that's where a captivating visual can make all the difference. It can be the difference between someone bouncing off your site after 2 seconds and actually spending time with your content.
It's like the difference between skimming a news article and getting completely absorbed in a good book.
Yes. And now, here's where it gets really interesting. The blog post highlights how savvy image choices can actually boost your SEO, which is something I think a lot of people don't immediately connect.
SEO, that's search engine optimization, right? Like how high up you show up on Google.
You got it.
Yeah.
And while it might seem like images and SEO live in different worlds, they're actually more connected than you might think.
Okay, I'm really curious now. How does that work?
It all comes down to using descriptive alt text with relevant keywords.
Alt text, that's the written description you add to an image's code, right?
You know your stuff. It's like adding subtitles to a movie. It tells people who can't see the image what's going on.
Right, for accessibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the coast. Connection search engines like Google also use this alt text to understand what your images are about.
Ah, so by using relevant keywords, you're basically giving Google a cheat sheet.
Exactly. You're helping Google connect the dots between your words and your pictures, and Google rewards that with better rankings.
It's like weaving this invisible thread that only Google can see. Love it.
That's a fantastic way to put it. But let's say you're on board with all of this. You need great images for your website. The question is, where do you even begin to look?
Yeah, where do you even start? There's so many options out there.
There are. Luckily, the blog post gives us a great roadmap for sourcing images, no matter your budget.
Music to my ears. All right, let's talk options.
They start with a classic. Stock photos.
Ah, yes, the trusty stock photo. Can't go wrong, right?
Well, they definitely have their place. The blog post mentions the heavy hitters like Shutterstock, iStock, Adobe Stock. These platforms are all chock full of images. What are your thoughts on going the stock route?
I mean, the sheer volume and variety of images available on those platforms is incredible. You can find practically anything you need, and the quality is generally top-notch.
For sure, but the article brings up a really good point. You have to be careful about falling into the generic trap. Those cheesy stock photos with the overly posed models that everyone loves to hate.
Oh, absolutely. We want to stand out, not blend in with every other website using the same tired images.
Right. But don't worry. The blog post offers some fantastic alternatives, even if you're working with a tighter budget. They're big fans of free image resources like Unsplash, Pexels, and Pixabay.
Those sites are amazing. I use them all the time. It's like they unlocked this treasure trove of high-quality imagery and made it accessible to everyone.
Seriously. It's a game changer for anyone who needs great visuals without breaking the bank. But, of course, there's always the custom route.
Ah, yes. Custom photography. Nothing quite beats that.
Exactly. If you're ready to level up your visual game and showcase your brand's unique personality, custom photography is the way to go.
It's like the difference between buying a suit off the rack and having one tailor-made just for you.
A perfect analogy. Sure, it requires a bit more upfront investment, but the fit is impeccable. And in a crowded online world, that can make all the difference. So you've figured out where to find your images. You're ready to deck out your website with stunning visuals. But now comes the real question. What kind of images do you actually need?
So many choices. How do we even begin to narrow it down?
Don't worry, the article breaks it down into some helpful categories.
Yeah.
And they start with something that's absolutely crucial for anyone running an e-commerce site. Product images.
The bread and butter of any online shop. You got to get those right.
Tell me about it. What insights did they have about choosing winning product shots?
And we're back, ready to dive into the wonderful world of image optimization.
I am. But I'll be honest, image optimization sounds a little intimidating,
Yeah.
like something that requires a computer science degree.
I hear you, but trust me, it's not as complicated as it sounds. Our friends at Now Technology Systems break it down into some really manageable steps.
Okay, that's reassuring. Where do we start?
First up, image format. We've got to make sure we're using the right file type.
Okay, image format. It's like choosing the right outfit for an occasion, right? You wouldn't wear a ball gown to a backyard barbecue.
Exactly. You want something that looks good and fits the situation. For most photos on your website, JPEGs are going to be your go-to.
JPEG, that's like the classic image format, right?
It is. JPEGs offer a great balance of quality and file size, so your website looks sharp without taking forever to load.
Makes sense. So JPEGs for photos, what about graphics like logos?
For those, you'll want to use a PNG, especially if you need a transparent background.
Ah, so if my logo is white with the transparent background, a PNG will let me put it on any color background without that awkward white box around it.
Exactly. You got it.
PNGs, check. What's next on our optimization to-do list?
Image compression. This one sounds scarier than it actually is.
Okay, break it down for me. What is image compression?
Imagine you have a big, fluffy balloon. Image compression is like gently letting some of the air out so it becomes smaller, but without popping it.
So you're making the image file smaller without losing any of the important details.
Precisely. Smaller file size equals faster loading times, which is a big win for your website. The blog post recommends some great tools for this, like Tiny PNG and Image Optim.
Tiny PNG, Image Optim. Got it.
They're super easy to use. Just drag and drop your images, and they'll work their magic.
Love it. Okay, what else do we need to know about optimizing our images?
Don't forget alt text. It's essential for accessibility and SEO.
Okay, alt text. Remind me again, what is that exactly?
Alt text is a short description you add to an image's code that tells search engines and screen readers what the image is. Think of it like adding subtitles to a movie for someone who can't hear the audio.
Right, so it's about making your website more inclusive for everyone.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, while you're making your site more accessible, you're also boosting your SEO. Win-win.
Because Google reads those descriptions to understand what's on your website, right?
You got it. By using relevant keywords in your alt text, you're giving Google more information to work with, and that can help your website rank higher in search results.
Alt text, it is. What else is on the image optimization checklist?
The blog post also stresses the importance of using responsive images.
Responsive images, those are images that automatically adjust to different screen sizes, right?
Exactly. They're like chameleons of the web, blending in seamlessly no matter what device someone is using.
So no more teeny tiny images on a huge monitor or giant images that take forever to load on a phone.
No more. Responsive images ensure that your website looks amazing and loads quickly on every device.
That's fantastic. I'm all about making the web a more user-friendly place. Okay, so responsive images, check. Anything else we need to cover on the technical side?
The article delves into some Australia-specific regulations, but there are definitely some universal takeaways.
Okay, let's hear them. I'm all about making this deep dive globally relevant.
Well, they reiterate the importance of alt text, which we've covered, but they also touch on image captions, which can be helpful for context or adding additional information, especially for complex images.
Like adding a little explainer to give people more information if they want it.
Exactly. And then there's color contrast.
Ah, yes, color contrast. It's something a lot of people forget about.
It's so important for usability and accessibility, especially for people with low vision. You want to make sure there's enough contrast between your text color and your background image so that the text is easy to read.
No more light gray text on a light gray background.
Exactly. Strong contrast is key.
This has been incredibly helpful. I feel like I've leveled up my image optimization knowledge for sure, but I'm ready to switch gears a bit.
Uh-huh.
Can we talk about the art of using images to tell a story? And we're back, ready to transform our websites from purely functional to full-on works of art.
Ooh, I love where we're going with this. It's like we've got all the ingredients prepped, and now it's time to whip up a visual feast.
A visual feast. I love that. And just like any good meal, we need to think about how to present our images in a way that's both appealing and satisfying.
Presentation is everything, and that's where the art of visual storytelling comes in.
Exactly. And speaking of storytelling, the Now Technology Systems blog post kicks off this section with a really interesting example: landing pages.
Landing pages, that first impression is so crucial, right? It's like make it or break it time.
Right. It's that digital handshake, that split-second decision of do I stay or do I go? And the blog post talks about how a single, powerful image, what they call the hero image, can make all the difference.
It's like the cover of a book. It needs to be captivating enough to make you want to open it and dive in.
Exactly. It's about creating that instant visual connection and drawing people in. They give the example of a movie poster, with sweeping landscapes or those dramatic close-ups that leave you wanting more.
Ooh, yeah. It gets you hyped for the whole experience.
Exactly. And while we might not all be Spielberg or Tarantino, we can borrow from their playbook, right?
Okay.
We can think about how to tell our brand's story in that single, powerful image.
So instead of like a superhero landing on a skyscraper, it might be a close-up of a potter's hands shaping clay, something that immediately transports you to their world.
Yes. You just get it. Okay, so we've talked about landing pages. What about blog posts? We're in one right now, so I'm always curious about how to use images to keep readers engaged.
Well, think about it this way. Would you rather read a textbook with no pictures, just walls of text, or a magazine article with lots of captivating visuals?
Definitely the magazine article. It's like night and day in terms of how engaging it is.
And it's not just about aesthetics. Images can help break up the text, make it easier to digest.
They can also evoke emotion in a way that words sometimes struggle to do,
Totally. Like a picture of a smiling child instantly evokes feelings of warmth and happiness.
Exactly. It's about finding that perfect visual that complements and enhances your words. Speaking of enhancing, the article talks about using images with testimonials, which I thought was a really smart point.
Oh, for sure. Seeing a real person's face next to their testimonial adds so much credibility.
It's like social proof, but amplified. Okay, we've covered some really effective ways to use images, but what about common mistakes to avoid? What does the blog post say about image mishaps?
Luckily, they dedicate a whole section to that. It's like they're saying, we're not just going to tell you what to do, we're also going to warn you about what not to do.
I like it. Give me the lowdown. What are some of the big no-nos when it comes to images?
Okay, their first point, and I'll admit, I've been guilty of this myself using generic stock photos.
Oh yeah, those ones that just scream, I didn't even try.
Exactly. They make your website look like a million others.
Totally. It's like wearing the same outfit as everyone else to a party. Not a good look.
Yes.
Okay, what else should we avoid?
Their next point is about image quality, which is so important. Blurry or pixelated images just scream unprofessionalism.
It's like showing up to a job interview in a wrinkled shirt,
Ouch. But yeah, you're right. First impressions matter.
And finally, they circle back to image optimization. Because even if you have the most stunning images in the world, if they take forever to load...
Game over! People are hitting that back button faster than you can say, website redesign.
It's true. People are impatient. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. What are some key takeaways for listeners who want to up their image game?
Well, the blog post ends on a really practical note, encouraging people to think about future-proofing their image strategy.
Which basically means staying ahead of the curve, right?
Exactly. Their first tip is all about keeping things fresh. Don't be afraid to update your images regularly.
With the old in with the new.
Exactly. And then they suggest using analytics tools to see what's resonating with your audience.
It's like having a window into your audience's soul. A little creepy, but super helpful.
Right. And lastly, they emphasize the importance of feedback. Don't be afraid to ask people what they think of your website's visuals.
Sometimes a fresh pair of eyes is all it takes to spot something you might have missed.
That's so true.
Well, this has been a truly eye-opening deep dive into the world of website images. But before we go, I want to leave you with this. Thinking about your own online presence, what's one small change you could make today to improve the impact of your visuals? Could it be adding alt text to your images? Or maybe swapping out a generic stock photo for something a little more you? Whatever it is, take that step. Because in our increasingly visual world, choosing the right images can make all the difference. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time.